The grade I'm going to give the Astros through the first 30 games of the year, 16 and 14, 2.5 games out of first place in the AL West, tied with 5 teams across baseball for 13th place in all the sport, American League, National League. I'm going to give them a C minus. And right now I'm about to add some props. I look like a mime. Well, now with my little glasses, my blue light glasses, and this hat that I think I wore at graduation, I don't remember anything that happened. I'm going to give them a C minus, and here is why. I'd give them a D, but there are extenuating circumstances. Right now, as part of the report card that I would be sending out to the Houston Astros, I would also be asking about their family. I would be asking, hey, what's going on at home? Are things bad? Is that why they're underachieving the way that they are? And I'm not talking about the pitching side of things. The pitching's been great. Second in baseball in ERA. Fifth in baseball in walks, hits per innings pitched. Fifth in baseball in strikeouts. The pitching has actually been pretty good, which is nice to see considering Justin Verlander is now gone. But how confident do you feel in the Astros' ability to maintain it with Jose Urquidy out for a while, per Dusty Baker? And more importantly, Luis Garcia, who looked really good the last couple of starts before he exits Monday's game with elbow soreness and is now getting a second opinion on an MRI. When have you ever heard about a guy going to get a second opinion over something good? That never happens.
Second opinion? Yep, he's fine. Get on out there.
That would be very funny, and maybe the Astros team doctors should find somebody who's, I don't know, perhaps willing to let things slide a little bit. But whatever the case, you've pitched well to this point. You're about to be without multiple pitchers. Is Hunter Brown going to be able to be consistent like he was the last couple of starts we saw last night? That's not going to happen every single game. Framber Valdez has been consistent, but Christian Javier, we're still waiting for that big start from him. I got to say, when it comes to the Houston Astros pitching, that's not the problem, but I don't know that it's going to last. Then you got to look at the offense. And the offense is why I'm giving them a C minus, but I'm debating giving them a D because it's early, as many are saying. But how much better are they going to be with Altuve and Brantley back? They are 12th in runs scored. That's neat, but they're 22nd in home runs. They're 16th in batting average. They're 19th in OPS. And when you're the defending World Series champions, that is unacceptable. And that's why I'm giving them that C minus or D grade. You're not expecting Alex Bregman to continue to slump, but he's not hitting well. And it's not a good sign if Mauricio Dubon, Jake Myers, and Corey Julks all have OPSs north of him. That's not good. We're a month into the year. And I get it. Alex Bregman's a slow starter. It's April. Check that. It's May. Oh, no. And then you got this problem. Jose Abreu is only above Martin Maldonado, who, I mean, do you even want Martin Maldonado to start after what you saw from Yanier Diaz last night? I saw Chandler Rome at a piece in The Athletic saying, you know what? It might be time to make Yanier Diaz more than just Hunter Brown's personal catcher. I agree with him. I agree. I get it. Maldonado, defensive mastermind. Can't catch a high fastball, but defensive mastermind. And then on top of that, David Hensley, the only other bat that has an OPS south of Jose Abreu. And I get it. Last night, he had a line drive, and he was unlucky on it because it was a 107.7 miles per hour off the bat, and there was a 670 expected batting average on said hit. Neato! But the lineup's been poo compared to expectations. It's been similar to, at times, what it was in the postseason. And do you think it's going to get significantly better by the end of the year? At least to the point where the Astros are going to play their way back into conversation about being the 1 or the 2 seed in the American League. Right now, it's hard to look at anything except for the past to make that proclamation on. So, the grade I'm giving for the Houston Astros for the first 30 games of the season is a C minus. 713-780-3776 to call, to text in on the most interactive sports talk show in Houston. Ackerlon says on Twitter, at ESPN975, at Sean A. Mapes. Sean?
Sounds like, though, with the C minus, we're still graduating, baby.
That is true. C's get degrees.
It was a rough first month, but we're moving on to May. They're not going to kick us out of baseball.
That's true. Also, D's get diplomas. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
I
You know
found
what?
that out because I was freaking out.
Good thing I didn't know that.
My senior year, I took a law class, communications law. And I remember it in this class thinking to myself, whatever. I'm just going to hire a lawyer anyway if I ever get in trouble, right? I'm not going to try to represent myself in court. That would probably end disastrously. So I didn't show up for most of the classes. And I was of the belief, oh yeah, I can just show up and I'll figure it out. Take the first test, I think I ace it. The day that the test had been graded, we come back into class. They write the high score, which was an 83. And I was like, oh, that's not promising. And the low score was a 37. And I'm like, who's the dumbass who got a 37? My paper is brought to me. I look at it, circled in red pen. The lowest grade I ever got in my life, 37. It was me. It was awful. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh, damn, now I have to go to class and do bonus assignments. Because there was one of those classes where it's just...
It's like 3 tests or
yes,
something.
That's it. There's just 3 tests. And I'm like, damn, I didn't know I had to memorize all the stupid law when I have the internet. So I got a D. And I remember going to my peer advisor, because I'd never gotten a C in my life, let alone a D. So I go to the person who's in charge at Newhouse, the SI Newhouse School of Communications at Syracuse. And I'm like, hey, like, am I going to be able to graduate now? And she said, yes. D's get diplomas. Relax. Breathed a huge sigh of relief, and then I resumed what I had been doing for the majority of my senior year, smoking pot in my friend's room and watching the television show Weeds on Netflix, which had just become a streaming habit. I mean, getting ready for work and trying to get a job. Taking 3 classes my senior year, second semester. Hashtag cake eater. Anyway, that's what I'm giving the Astros as a grade. A C-. C's get degrees. D's also get degrees in certain colleges. Maybe it makes you think a little bit less of the SI Newhouse School of Communications, the greatest broadcasting school there is.
You're listening to The Paul Gallant Show on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Paul Gallant.
What grade would you give the Houston Astros for the first 30 games of the year? I would give them a C-. Sean Mapes behind the glass would give them either a C+ or a C. How about you, a texter? Would you give the team as a whole a D? Hopefully that was not sent in as a joke. I would think about giving them a D. With the injuries that they have, I think they might deserve the D that I thought about. But I'm not going to give them that D. I'm going to give them a C- because of all of the injuries. That's why I'm not giving them the D. What? Don't make a face. I'm just saying I'm not giving them the big D on that grade.
You're just being very, very selective with your words. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Another text.
Why aren't you wearing the professor hat as you're talking about?
I got rid of it. I think it was ruining my hair. Twitch.tv/ESPN975 to watch along. Another texter. The Astros is currently comprised with injuries, are a young, scrappy team playing above their level. Sometimes as a fan, you just have to enjoy that. B+. Huh? What are you talking about? A young, scrappy team playing above their level. This text has to be a troll. I don't believe that. This is a plant. This is fake. And someone's asking, Paul, are your writers on strike? This might be one of the writers. One of the writers who have gone on strike because their skills and services are so valuable. Take, for example, all late-night television shows and Saturday Night Live, because all of them are so great in 2023. Maybe the writers are now working by sending in text on the text line. B+, young, scrappy team? No. I don't even know why I entertained that text. A text, Quit blaming injuries for the lack of performances in our actual lineup. These players shouldn't use the excuse, I'm not hitting, because other players are injured. I do think that is a 100% correct take by this texter. Look, Altuve's missing, but Mauricio Dubon's been great. Do you expect that to last all year? Corey Julks and Jake Myers are hitting well, but while Jeremy Pena is making extreme contact with the ball, he has come back down to earth. Jose Abreu is not hitting for power. Alex Bregman really just isn't hitting, period. And while you've gotten some nice moments out of Yordan Alvarez, he has not been the absolutely terrorizing force that you saw last year. And I would say for Kyle Tucker, you're seeing enough glimpses where you're like, you know how talented he is, but is Tucker playing like the kind of guy who's going to get a $300 million contract someday? And if you take a look top to bottom with a lineup that features those names, Jeremy Pena, who tore the cover off of the ball in the playoffs this past year, Bregman, who is a slow starter, but also played pretty damn well in the playoffs, Alvarez, Tucker, like just those four guys right there. When you have four players in your lineup that are that good, shouldn't you be better than 22nd in home runs, 16th in batting average, 19th in OPS? You should. And one of the reasons that you're even in that spot is because of Dubon when it comes to your batting average, Corey Julks when it comes to your batting average as well, and Jake Myers. Like Julks and Myers have weirdly provided you a decent amount of power to open up the year. There was an interesting thing said today on the Astros flagship, Dana Brown, talking about Yanir Diaz, who had a great night last night. He had 2 hits. I think he threw 2 guys out as well. He's done well and is learning under Maldi, but he's our future. He threw 2 guys out last night with bullet throws. He's a bright light. Okay, well, then he's got to play the majority of games. Can't Martin Maldonado be equally effective in his role as someone who is defensively inclined and as, I think just on top of it, as he's constantly lauded as being, can't he be somebody that's a valuable resource for a pitcher to talk to in between innings? Does he have to play every single game to have the correct perspective on what a pitcher's doing? Maybe he does. And obviously, you have a better point of view if you're catching a pitcher than if you're in the dugout and watching it. But I don't know. I feel like if Yanir Diaz is giving you more at the plate, and Maldonado is not lights out defensively, and Diaz is also giving you some defensive moments too, makes more sense to play Diaz. Chandler Rome had a piece in The Athletic about that. You should be comparing the Astros record to the rest of the teams in the American League to this point of the year. The Tampa Bay Rays have gotten off to a ridiculous start, 24-6. As things currently stand, they are 8 games ahead of you in the American League race. Obviously, that can be made up very quickly. We said that the Astros and Yankees, that might be difficult to make up, and they made it up in like a month. Remember, I had this bold guarantee the Astros will catch up to the Yankees by the end of the year. And they were there in a month. They never looked back. So remember, lots of things can happen. And the Astros have played a pretty challenging schedule to this point. The teams that they have played thus far, they played Tampa Bay, first place. They played Texas, third place in the American League. They played Toronto, fourth place. Minnesota, fifth place. They've played some good teams to this point. They also played the Pittsburgh Pirates, best record in the National League. Played the Atlanta Braves, tied for best record in the National League. They've had a pretty difficult schedule thus far, so you can definitely look at the schedule and say, okay, well, maybe that's why things have been so slow getting out of the gate, why they're not hitting up to the standard that you would expect them to. But I think that instead of comparing this team to last year's team, I think you should be comparing this team to what the other teams in the American League are doing.